Put on your headphones. Not for the music. For what comes after it. Because everything you are about to hear about is real. Recorded. Down there. In a place where you cannot breathe, cannot see, and were never meant to go. The ocean is not silent. It never was. We just weren't listening. Right now, as you breathe, the sea is roaring. Clicking. Singing. Groaning. There is a wall of sound beneath the waves so constant, so alive, that engineers had to invent a word for it. They call it the deep ocean chorus. And it plays around the clock, in every ocean, whether or not a single human is there to hear it. For almost all of human history, we heard none of it. The surface of the sea acts like a lid. Stand on a boat on a calm day, and the water seems almost silent, a gentle slap against the hull, and nothing more. That silence is an illusion. It is one of the great lies the ocean tells. Because the moment you drop a hydrophone, an underwater microphone, just a few meters beneath that mirror-flat surface, the illusion shatters. The quiet explodes into a storm of sound you never suspected was there. We only learned to listen properly by accident. During the Cold War, the United States Navy laid a secret web of microphones across the floor of the oceans, a system built to hear the propellers of enemy submarines from thousands of kilometers away. It was one of the most classified projects of the 20th century. And when it was finally opened to scientists, they discovered it had been recording something else the entire time. The voices of the sea itself. So here is what we are going to do today. We are going to descend. Not through a list of facts, in real time. Meter by meter. From the bright, deafening surface, all the way down to the crushing black floor 11 kilometers below. And at every depth, we are going to stop, close our eyes, and listen to what is actually there. But before we sink, I need to plant 3 sounds in your mind. 3 mysteries. Because by the time we reach the bottom, you are going to hear the answer to each one, and not one of those answers is what you would guess. The first. In the summer of 1997, sensors thousands of kilometers apart, scattered across the Pacific, all picked up the exact same sound at the exact same time. It was enormous. Louder than any animal known to science. And it rose from somewhere deep. They gave it a name that sounds almost like a joke. But no one who studied it was laughing. We'll get there. The second. Somewhere in the North Pacific, a single whale has been singing, alone, for more than 30 years. It calls out, over and over, following the same migration, season after season. And in all that time, not one other whale has ever answered it. Because it sings at a frequency the others cannot understand. We'll get there too. And the third. At the deepest point on the entire planet, a place where scientists were absolutely certain they would find perfect, total, unbroken silence, they lowered a microphone and pressed record. What came back kept them awake for weeks. It was the last thing anyone expected. We will get there. I promise you that. 3 sounds. Keep them in the back of your mind. Now, take a breath. And hold it. We're going under. 0 meters. The surface. Sunlight pours down through the water like liquid gold. This thin, bright band is the only zone in the entire ocean where light truly reaches. Marine biologists call it the epipelagic, the sunlight zone. It's warm. It's dazzling. And it is, by an enormous margin, the noisiest place in the whole sea. Because here, the water is crowded with life. And life, everywhere, makes noise. Swim up to any healthy coral reef, put your head under, and hold still. You'll hear something extraordinary, a sound like bacon frying in a pan. A relentless, crackling, popping static that never stops, coming from every direction at once. Divers heard that crackle for decades and had no idea what was making it. During the Second World War, it was so loud in some coastal waters that it blinded military sonar. Enemy operators literally could not hear approaching submarines through the wall of noise. Submarine crews learned to hide inside it, drifting silent beneath a curtain of static. The source of that deafening crackle? A creature smaller than your finger. The snapping shrimp. It has one massively oversized claw. And it can snap that claw shut so fast, faster than almost any motion in the animal kingdom, that it doesn't just make a click. It rips the water apart. The claw moves so quickly that it leaves a vacuum behind it, a bubble of nothing. And when that bubble collapses, it does so with unbelievable violence. For a fraction of a millisecond, the water inside reaches nearly 5,000 degrees Celsius, close to the temperature of the surface of the sun. It even releases a tiny flash of light, too fast for the human eye to see. A thumb-sized shrimp, creating a spark as hot as a star, at the bottom of a shallow lagoon. And the sound of that snap? It reaches over 200 decibels underwater. Let me put that in scale. A jet engine at takeoff is around 140 decibels. A gunshot next to your ear, about 165. This tiny, thumb-sized animal produces one of the loudest sounds made by any creature on Earth. Now multiply it. There are billions of them, snapping across every reef and seagrass bed on the planet, every second of every day. Together, they generate that endless frying crackle, the permanent background hiss of the shallow sea. But the shrimp are only the static. Over the top of that hiss, there's a whole rhythm section playing. Fish. Most people assume fish are silent. They are not. The great majority of them make sound, and they make it deliberately. They grunt, they growl, they hum, they knock, they drum. Some species vibrate a muscle against their swim bladder, an internal air sac, turning their own body into a drum that can beat dozens of times a second. The toadfish produces a foghorn hum so deep and so loud that a community of houseboat residents once became convinced their plumbing was failing. Engineers were called out. Pipes were inspected. The culprit turned out to be thousands of male toadfish, all humming at once, all night long, calling for a mate in the dark. And then there are the parrotfish. If you have ever heard a strange crunching, grinding sound over a reef, like someone eating gravel, that is a parrotfish, scraping algae off the rock with a beak strong enough to bite through stone. You can hear them chewing the reef itself. And it isn't only fish and shrimp. Sea lions bark and buzz at one another beneath the waves. Herring, astonishingly, communicate by releasing bursts of bubbles, talking, essentially, by breaking wind in the dark. Humpback whales cruising the coast let loose booming feeding calls to herd their prey into tight, panicking balls. Every habitat in the ocean, it turns out, has its own distinct acoustic signature, a unique blend of sounds as recognizable as a fingerprint. A healthy reef sounds completely different from a dying one. A seagrass meadow sounds nothing like a rocky shore. Scientists can now drop a microphone into the water and, without seeing a single thing, tell you how alive that patch of ocean truly is, just by listening to it. At dawn and again at dusk, the whole reef erupts into what scientists literally call a chorus. Species after species joins in sequence, until the water swells with a coordinated wall of sound that rises and falls with the light. As regular and as predictable as birdsong at sunrise. Because that is exactly what it is. A dawn chorus. Just underwater. And here is the part that stops scientists cold. Baby fish, tiny larvae, drifting helplessly out in the open ocean, far from any reef, find their way home by listening. They cannot see the reef, but they can hear it. That crackle of shrimp, that chorus of fish carries out into the blue, and the larvae swim toward it. They hear home before they can ever see it, which has led to something almost miraculous. On reefs that had died, bleached, gone silent, abandoned, scientists tried an experiment. They placed underwater loudspeakers on the dead coral and played back the recorded sound of a living, healthy reef. And the fish came back. Drawn by the sound of life, larvae settled onto the ruins and began to rebuild. They are, quite literally, resurrecting reefs with a recording. Now, here is the single most important thing to understand about sound in water. It behaves nothing like sound in air. Up here, in the atmosphere, sound crawls along at about 340 meters per second. Down here, in water, it moves more than 4 times faster, roughly 1,500 meters per second. And crucially, it barely fades. A sound that would die within a few meters in the air can travel for hundreds, even thousands, of kilometers through the sea. That single fact changes everything. In the ocean, sound is not a whisper. It is not a background detail. It is the primary sense. Down here, vision fails within a few dozen meters, light simply cannot reach far. But sound travels almost forever. And so, for the creatures of the sea, sound is not how they talk. It is how they see. Dolphins already prove it up here. Each one has a signature whistle, a name it gives itself and answers to. And it builds a 3-dimensional picture of the world by firing clicks and reading the echoes. It hunts in murky water, at night, with its eyes closed, using nothing but sound. And as we descend now, past 100 meters, the light begins to die. The gold drains out of the water. The blue turns cold and deep. And with every meter down, sound becomes not just the primary sense, it becomes the only one left. 200 meters. The sunlight zone ends here. Welcome to the twilight zone, the mesopelagic. The last, faint traces of sunlight bleed away in this layer, dimming from deep blue to almost black. Until, by 1,000 meters, there is none left at all. It's cold now, around 4 degrees Celsius, colder than the inside of your refrigerator. The pressure is climbing fast. And far above us, the crackle of the reef has faded to nothing. But before the giants, there is a stranger phenomenon in this dim water, one that quietly terrified the first people ever to detect it. During the Second World War, sonar operators kept detecting a solid seafloor at around 400 meters, a floor that had no business being there. And it did something the seabed should never do. It moved. It rose toward the surface every single night, and sank back into the depths every dawn. They called it the phantom bottom. It wasn't the seabed at all. It was life, countless billions of small fish, squid, and shrimp, packed so densely that they reflected sound like solid rock. Every night, this entire living layer rises to feed under the cover of darkness, then descends again before the light returns. It is the largest migration of animals anywhere on the planet, and it happens, silently and invisibly, every 24 hours, in every ocean on Earth. But it is not quiet down here. Because the Twilight Zone is where the giants sing. Whale song. You have almost certainly heard a recording of it, that haunting, looping, moaning wail that seems to bend and stretch through the water. It is one of the most recognizable sounds in nature. But almost no one realizes how strange the truth behind it actually is. A humpback whale song is not random noise. It is structured, organized like a language. Short sounds are grouped into phrases. Phrases repeat to form themes. Themes stack into a full song that can last 30 minutes or more. And then the whale returns to the very beginning and sings the whole thing again. And every male in an entire population sings the same song. But here is what genuinely stuns researchers. The song changes. Over the course of a single season, small variations creep in, and then, somehow, every whale in the population adopts the new version. In sync. Across thousands of kilometers of open ocean. A brand new song can emerge on one side of an ocean basin and sweep across it, whale to whale, until everyone is singing the update. A hit song, spreading through a culture of whales, with no radio, no screens, no internet. Just sound, moving through water. And that song travels almost impossibly far, because of something hidden in this part of the ocean. At a certain depth, the temperature and the pressure balance out in just the right way to create a natural channel, a layer that traps sound and funnels it forward, with almost no loss of energy. Scientists call it the SOFAR channel. Sound placed inside it can circle the globe. In 1991, scientists decided to find out exactly how far a single sound could go. Off a remote, wind-battered island in the far southern Indian Ocean, they lowered a powerful sound source deep into the water and switched it on. The signal poured into the SOFAR channel and spread outward across the planet. It was detected off the west coast of the United States. It was detected off the east coast, on the far side of the continent. It was picked up thousands of kilometers away, near the shores of other continents entirely, a single man-made sound, heard almost the whole way around the world. And it traveled so reliably that researchers realized they could use it as a thermometer for the entire ocean, measuring the tiniest shifts in how fast the sound arrived to track the temperature of the sea across whole basins. The ocean, they discovered, is one colossal whispering gallery, in which almost nothing is ever truly out of earshot. Humans found this channel during the Second World War. The military realized that a small charge dropped by a downed pilot would boom through the channel and be heard by stations across an entire ocean, letting them triangulate a rescue. We used the ocean's secret sound corridor to save lives. But the whales had been using it for millions of years before we ever arrived. Think about what that means. Before human beings filled the water with the roar of engines, a blue whale calling off the coast of one continent may have been heard by another near a completely different one. The entire ocean basin was a single, connected room. And the largest animals ever to exist on this planet were talking across it. The blue whale's call is the loudest sustained sound made by any animal alive, a deep, pulsing moan so low that much of it sits below the range of human hearing. You would feel it in your chest before you heard it in your ears. It rolls out through the channel for hundreds of kilometers. One whale, filling an ocean with its voice. Which brings us, at last, to the loneliest sound in the entire sea. Remember the second mystery I planted at the start? The whale that sings alone. It's time. In 1989, that secret Cold War network of Navy hydrophones picked up a whale call in the North Pacific. But something about it was wrong. Blue whales sing at around 10 to 40 hertz, so low it is more a rumble you feel than a sound you hear. Fin whales, about 20 hertz. But this one, this single, unidentifiable animal, was calling at 52 hertz. 52 hertz. Far, far higher than any other great whale on Earth. To a blue whale, this animal's voice would be almost meaningless, like a human trying to speak to you in a pitch so high it barely registers as words at all. It is calling in a language no other whale appears to share. A scientist named William Watkins tracked it. For years. Then for over a decade. Every single season, the same lone whale appeared on the hydrophones, migrating alone across the North Pacific, singing its impossible song. It was never recorded near any other whale. It never got an answer. When the story reached the public, the press called it the loneliest whale in the world. And the image lodged itself in millions of minds. A creature calling out, endlessly, into an ocean that never once calls back. We still don't fully know what it is. Perhaps a hybrid of two species, Perhaps a blue whale with a malformation. Perhaps something science hasn't classified. And strangely, over the decades, its call has slowly deepened, from 52 hertz down toward 50, exactly as you'd expect from an animal growing older. Whatever it is, it has been out there, alive, this whole time. Singing a song that, as far as we can tell, only it can sing. That is mystery number 2, resolved. But it leaves a harder question hanging in the cold water. If sound is how the ocean sees, how it connects, how it lives, then what happens to a voice that goes out, over and over, and never comes back? Hold that thought. Because we are only halfway down. We're leaving the twilight now. 1,000 meters. And below this line, no ray of sunlight has ever reached, not a single photon, in the entire history of the planet. From here down, it is permanent, absolute night. 1,000 meters. The midnight zone, or the bathypelagic. Roughly 90% of all the living space on Earth lies down here in this cold, black water, and we have explored almost none of it. The pressure is now over 100 times what you feel at the surface. It would collapse a human chest in an instant. And it is utterly, completely dark. Down here, as are almost useless. So the animals that hunt in this darkness have done something remarkable. They have turned sound into a weapon. The sperm whale. The largest predator with teeth that has ever existed on Earth. It fills its lungs at the surface, then dives down into this crushing black, sometimes past 2,000 meters, holding its breath for well over an hour. Hunting giant squid through water it cannot possibly see. So how does it find its prey, in total darkness, in an ocean this vast? It screams into the black. And it listens for the scream to come back. The sperm whale produces the loudest sound made by any animal on the entire planet. Not the blue whale, the sperm whale. It generates a focused, hammering click through an enormous, oil-filled organ that takes up a third of its body, and that click can reach 230 decibels. That is a level of sound your body could not survive at close range. In air, a sound that powerful is physically impossible. The atmosphere simply cannot carry it. That click travels out into the darkness, strikes a squid somewhere ahead, and bounces back. From the faint returning echo, its timing, its texture, the whale builds a detailed, three-dimensional picture of its prey. Its size. Its distance. Its direction. The whale is seeing with sound. Hunting with a sonar system it grew inside its own head, more sensitive than anything human engineers have ever built. And some researchers believe the clicks may do more than locate prey. They may be powerful enough to stun it, to briefly disorient a squid with a focused blast of sound alone. A living animal, using noise itself as a weapon, in the pitch black, a kilometer beneath the waves. And sperm whales don't only hunt with clicks. They talk in them. When they gather, they exchange pattern bursts called coders, rhythmic sequences of clicks, like Morse code, that differ from one family group to the next. A clan of sperm whales in one part of the Pacific clicks in a different rhythm than a clan in another. It is, in the most literal sense, a dialect. Culture, encoded in sound, and passed down through generations in the dark. And the sperm whale does not have this darkness to itself. Deeper still dives the beaked whale, the champion diver of every mammal on Earth, plunging toward 3 kilometers down and holding its breath for well over 2 hours, hunting in absolute black with clicks even faster and finer than the sperm whales. These are among the shyest and least understood large animals in existence. Some species have never once been seen alive. And it is here, with them, that sound reveals its dark side. Because when navies sweep the ocean with high-powered sonar, these deep-diving whales can panic. Torn from the silence they depend on, they bolt for the surface too quickly, their bodies unable to cope with the change, and they wash ashore, stranded on beaches, sometimes by the dozen, driven out of the deep by a noise they could not escape. For an animal that navigates, hunts, communicates, and survives entirely through sound, a wall of human noise is not a nuisance. It can be lethal. Down here, sound is life itself. And that means it can just as easily become the opposite. Now, remember the very first mystery? The enormous sound from 1997, louder than any known animal, heard across thousands of kilometers. We are deep enough now, and dark enough. It's time. In the summer of 1997, the United States National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, was listening to the equatorial Pacific through an array of deep hydrophones. And their sensors caught something none of them could explain. An ultra-low frequency sound of astonishing power. So powerful that it was detected by microphones more than 5,000 kilometers apart. 5,000 kilometers. That is like a single sound, made near the coast of one continent, being clearly heard near another. No known animal could produce it. No ship, no machine, matched its signature. The sound swept rapidly upward in frequency over about a minute, and then it was gone. Not knowing what else to call it, the researchers gave it a simple, almost silly name, based on what it sounded like. The Bloop. And for years, the Bloop was a genuine, unsolved mystery. It didn't match any vessel in any database. It didn't match any known geological event. And, most unsettling of all, its acoustic profile looked disturbingly organic, the kind of pattern a living creature might make, only scaled up to something monstrous. Which, of course, set the world on fire. Was there an animal down there, far larger than a blue whale, unknown to science, calling in the dark? Something enormous, waiting at the bottom? For over a decade, no one could say for certain. The Bloop became legend, a monster of the deep, whispered about across the internet. A sound that seemed to hint at something vast and alive in the unexplored dark. And then scientists solved it. Not with a single dramatic discovery, but by doing what they always do, listening, patiently, for years, cataloging thousands more of these strange sounds. And eventually, they matched the Bloop's exact acoustic fingerprint to a specific, powerful, entirely natural event. It was not a creature at all. It was ice. An icequake. The Bloop was the sound of an immense iceberg fracturing and tearing free from Antarctica. The deep, groaning crack of ice the size of a city ripping itself apart, carried with terrifying efficiency across the entire ocean through cold, sound-conducting water. The monster of the deep was the planet itself, breaking. And honestly? That answer might be stranger than any monster. Because it means the Bloop was not some rare exception. It was normal. The deep ocean is absolutely full of the sounds of the Earth itself, grinding, cracking, shifting, and moving. And that is exactly where we are heading next. NOAA's hydrophones have caught so many of these bizarre sounds that they've had to name them, one by one, like specimens in a museum. There's one they call Upsweep, a steady, seasonal sound tied to an underwater volcano, still going after decades. Another they named Julia. Another, Slow Down. Another, Train. Another, Whistle. Some have been traced to their sources. A few still haven't. The ocean is a library of sounds we are only beginning to read. Mystery number 1, solved. 2 down. 1 to go. And the last one is waiting for us at the very bottom. 4,000 meters. We've reached the abyssal plain, the true floor of the deep ocean. A vast, flat, muddy expanse that covers more of the Earth's surface than every continent combined. It is one of the most stable, ancient, and unchanging environments anywhere on the planet. Cold. Black. Silent, you would assume. It isn't. Because down here, if you listen, you can actually hear the planet building itself. Running across the floor of the world's oceans is the longest mountain range on Earth, a chain of volcanic ridges tens of thousands of kilometers long, almost none of which any human has ever seen. Along these ridges, the seafloor is splitting apart. Molten rock rises from deep inside the Earth, meets the freezing water, and hardens into brand new crust. This is where the surface of our planet is literally being born. And all of it makes sound. Most of the volcanic activity on Earth happens down here, unseen, beneath kilometers of water. Eruptions, lava flows, the constant grinding of rock against rock, it generates deep, low-frequency rumbles that roll through the ocean for thousands of kilometers. The hydrophones pick them up constantly, the slow, groaning music of the Earth remaking its own skin. Around these vents, in scalding, mineral-rich water that should sterilize everything it touches, entire ecosystems thrive in total darkness. Communities of life that never see the sun and don't need it. And they live their whole existence inside this permanent, planetary rumble. For them, the sound of the Earth cracking open is simply the sound of home. And then there are the earthquakes. When the seafloor ruptures in a major undersea quake, the sound is monstrous, a violent, drawn-out roar as the very ground of the ocean tears. These quakes send a special kind of sound wave racing through the SOFAR channel, so distinct that seismologists use the hydrophones to detect earthquakes they'd otherwise miss. The recordings sound like the world being ripped in half. Which, in a sense, is precisely what is happening. And think back to the Bloop, the monster that turned out to be nothing but ice. The ocean is full of that sound, too. Because icebergs don't only crack and groan. They sing. When a mountain of ice drags its underside along the seafloor, or when seawater is forced screaming through the cracks and tunnels running through it, the entire berg begins to resonate, releasing long, eerie, sustained tones. Some are so deep and so powerful that they, too, were once mistaken for the call of some enormous living thing. Scientists have recorded a single iceberg humming for days on end. They have even discovered an entire ice shelf, a slab of frozen water the size of a country, vibrating continuously in the wind and the swell, humming one endless, subsonic note far too low for any human ear to catch. The frozen parts of this planet have a voice of their own. And most of the time, they are singing in a register we will never hear without a machine to translate it for us. There is a sound down here with no biology in it at all. No animal made it. No human made it. It is just rock, water, and pressure, the grinding voice of the planet's own machinery. It is the oldest sound in the world. The sound the Earth was making for billions of years before there was a single living ear anywhere to hear it. And it has never once stopped. And even here, for kilometers down, we still have not hit the true bottom. Because in a few rare places, the abyssal plain gives way, and the floor drops out from under us again, plunging into gashes so deep they could swallow entire mountain ranges. The trenches. The Hadal zone. Named after Hades, the underworld. 6,000 meters. And still falling. This is deeper than almost anything alive can survive. It is one of the least explored regions on the face of the Earth. And it is exactly where I promised to answer the third mystery. So put your headphones back on. Turn them up. We are going all the way down now, to the very bottom of the world. The Mariana Trench. The Challenger Deep. 10,994 meters straight down. The deepest point in all the world's oceans. If you could pluck Mount Everest from the surface of the Earth and drop it into this trench, its peak, the highest point on the planet, would still be more than 2 kilometers underwater. You could lose the tallest mountain on Earth down here, and the ocean would not even notice. The pressure at the bottom is over 1,000 times what you feel at the surface, more than 1,000 atmospheres pressing in from every direction. It is the weight of dozens of jumbo jets balanced on every single square inch. Nothing about a human body could endure it, not for a fraction of a second. You would not drown down here. You would be crushed before you had the chance. And yet, impossibly, even here, life holds on. At the very limit of what biology can survive, a small, pale, almost translucent fish called the snailfish drifts through the trench. Its soft, scaleless body is built to withstand a pressure that would crumple a steel submarine like paper. It has no use for eyes in this eternal darkness. Instead, it reads its world through vibration and sound, the faint pulse of a swimming meal, the tremble of the water when something moves nearby. Because down here, at the bottom of everything, sound is not merely the most useful sense. For the few strange creatures that call this place home, it is very nearly the only sense left that works at all. In 2015, a team of scientists set out to hear this place. They built a hydrophone encased in titanium, engineered to survive that unimaginable pressure. And they lowered it slowly into the Challenger Deep. It took the microphone more than 6 hours just to sink to the bottom. They had to descend it inch by inch, because dropping it any faster through those violent pressure changes would have destroyed it before it ever reached the floor. And they expected silence. Think about it. Nearly 11 kilometers of water overhead. No light. Barely any life. The single most isolated, most remote point on the entire planet. What on earth could possibly be down there to make a sound? They pressed record. And they waited. And the deepest place on the face of the earth turned out to be full of sound. The moans of baleen whales, drifting all the way down from the sunlit world far above. The deep groan and rumble of earthquakes, transmitted through the crust of the planet. And then the distinct, mechanical churn of a ship's propeller. A vessel on the surface, nearly 7 miles straight up, its engine noise sinking all the way to the bottom of the world. And at one point, the recording captured the deep, building roar of a Category 4 typhoon passing directly overhead. A monstrous storm on the surface, its violence reaching down and touching the deepest point in the ocean. The scientist who led the project put it plainly. He had expected the quietest place on Earth. Instead, he said, the noise almost never stopped. There is no true silence. Not even here. Not even at the very bottom of the world is the ocean ever truly quiet. It is always talking. And now, so are we. Our ships. Our engines. Our sonar. Our noise reaching down into a place that light itself has never once touched. That is the third mystery, answered. They lowered a microphone into the quietest place they could possibly imagine, and discovered it had never, for one moment, been quiet at all. So let's rise. Back up out of the trench. Past the earthquakes and the newborn volcanic rock. Past the sperm whales, clicking and hunting in the black. Back up through the twilight, where the giants sing their slowly evolving songs across 1,000 kilometers of water. Up through the crackling, roaring, sunlit shallows, alive with shrimp and fish and grinding parrotfish. And finally, break the surface. Into the light and the air. Here is what changes, now that you have heard it. The sea will never look silent to you again. That flat, calm, peaceful surface you see from a beach, or the deck of a boat, is a lid, a thin skin stretched over a world that is absolutely roaring underneath. An ocean that clicks, and sings, and groans, and cracks, and hums. A planet-sized instrument that has been playing, without pause, since long before the first ear existed to hear it. And there is a weight that comes with knowing this. Because for millions of years, that vast web of sound belonged only to the sea. The whale that could call across an entire ocean. The reef a drifting baby fish could hear from kilometers away and swim home to. The connected, singing, listening world beneath the waves, a world held together not by sight, but by sound. We are louder now. Far louder. The propellers of the world's shipping fleets, the blasts of undersea oil surveys, the sweep of military sonar, together, they have filled the ocean with a rising fog of engine noise, drowning out the voices that traveled those enormous distances for so long. The loneliest whale may not be lonely because it is different. It may be lonely because it can no longer be heard over the sound of us. But there is a strange, hopeful footnote to all of this. After the attacks of September 11, 2001, shipping traffic in one stretch of ocean off the North American coast briefly, suddenly fell silent. And scientists studying the whales there noticed something remarkable: the animal's stress hormones dropped. In the quiet, the whales relaxed. We had proof, for the first time, that our noise had been pressing on them all along. And proof that the moment we grow quieter, they recover. And it happened again, on a scale no one had ever witnessed, in the spring of 2020. As the world locked down, ships slowed, engines fell quiet, and harbors emptied, and the ocean grew measurably, dramatically quieter than it had been in decades. For a few strange, still months, the sea got a taste of the silence it had known for millions of years before us. Because that is the truth we keep arriving at. Without ever meaning to, we have been writing over the oldest song on Earth, a song that had been playing, unbroken, for billions of years before the first human ever drew breath. But unlike so much of the damage we do, this is a kind we could simply choose to undo. The light we lose, the species we erase, those never come back. But silence does. The ocean would grow quiet again the very moment we let it. The deep ocean is the largest living space on Earth, and we have mapped less of its floor than we have the surface of Mars. We have seen almost none of it with our eyes. But we can hear it. And every single time we lower a microphone into that darkness and press record, it tells us the very same thing. It was never empty. It was never silent. We simply had to learn how to listen. So keep your headphones close. Because where we go next is deeper and stranger than the darkness you just heard.